What is going on, Headliner Nation? Welcome to the Week 7 Tailgate Show. We've made it through 7 weeks of content here to start the fantasy football season. But now as we head into the Week 7 games, we have to realize something. We gotta be realists around here, right? This is not going to be an easy week for a lot of people. Between the 6 teams that are on bye and all of the injuries, there's some rosters out there that are downright nasty looking. But just like we always do in all of our tailgate videos, we're going to cover some of this late end of week news that has come in here really recently this afternoon, as well as go through some of the weather that could impact a few games this weekend as well. I do want to say that we're going to announce the winner of this week's Pristine Auction item giveaway in Kyle's running back video next week. It's only been out for like a day or two, and we want to give more people enough opportunity to get in on that giveaway. So if you're looking for the winner of the signed Dak Prescott mini helmet, it'll be in next week's running back start and sit video. But we're also going to have the next installment of Mack and the Medic and some Friday Flyers from the lone boner himself, Matt Galloway. But first, let's go ahead and dive into some end of the week news. And the first piece of news is going to be about Pat Freiermuth, tight end of the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot of people expected him to be back and healthy and playing this weekend. Well, he's re-aggravated an injury and he will not play in week 7. If Pat Freiermuth is in your fantasy lineup, get him out now. What about Deshaun Watson? News is coming out now here on Friday that he quote unquote looks good to go. Now, this has been an absolute nightmare to try to figure out here for multiple weeks in Cleveland surrounding Deshaun Watson, but it sounds like he's going to be good to go and has a great matchup this week. I mentioned in my quarterback rankings here earlier in the week that if Deshaun Watson was 100% full go heading into this matchup this weekend, that he would be verge top 12 in my rankings, so be sure to adjust accordingly. How about Jahmyr Gibbs? Sounds like not only is he going to be back in the lineup for the Lions here this week, but he's going to get the bulk of the work. Now, we know we're not going to have David Montgomery, and I know there are a lot of Jahmyr Gibbs owners out there that would love to see him get a lot of work, am I right? So if you have him stashed on your bench right now because he's been injured the last couple weeks, this might be our opportunity to get him back into our starting lineup and hope that he can find the end zone here for his first career touchdown. Now, it's great that we've heard about the backfield of Detroit. Something we have not really heard much about is who's going to be playing quarterback for the lowest scoring team in football, the New York Giants. As of right now, Daniel Jones has not been ruled out, but he is still questionable. That offensive line is an absolute mess. I feel like it would be a mistake to throw Daniel Jones back into this ball game. Let's see what Tyrod Taylor can do one more week. Let Daniel Jones kind of heal up a little bit more. Why are we going to throw a quarterback in a game behind a makeshift offensive line when the guy already has a neck issue? That just doesn't sound very smart to me. How about this, though? The running back stable of the Los Angeles Rams. Is it Zach Evans? They've brought in Myles Gaskin. But what about Darrell Henderson, who was already brought up off the practice squad? He is definitely somebody who is familiar with this offense. He played multiple years already in Los Angeles. He's very familiar with the Sean McVay offense. And we've really seen him produce in this backfield at times. He was never really given a huge opportunity, but when he got touches, he did something with it. Would I be surprised if at the end of the week, the leading rusher for the Los Angeles Rams in week 7 was Darrell Henderson? No, I would not be surprised whatsoever. Now, I wouldn't go as far as saying he's some must-start guy for me here this week, but if you're in a pinch and you need to throw a Hail Mary, there may be worse options out there than Darrell Henderson. We do also know now that we're not going to have Roschon Johnson or Justin Fields for the Chicago Bears. They have been ruled out. Many people, myself included, really expected Roschon Johnson to come back here this week from a concussion that he suffered 2 weeks ago. But as of right now, he has not cleared the concussion protocol and is going to be out in week 7. How about Sam Laporta? A tight end that is carrying people. The tight end position is horrible this year. Sam Laporta has been banged up for a couple weeks now. He was back as a full practice participant on Friday, though, so he should be a full go in your fantasy lineups this week. But like I said at the beginning, this is going to be a very stressful situation for fantasy football players here in week 7, but I want to make sure that I give you an opportunity to bounce back into week 8. So maybe this weekend leads to you partaking in a few alcoholic beverages. But fellas, I want to make sure that you are top-notch, good to go on Monday when you head into work. So don't forget about Waterboy. This is probably going to be something that I definitely take advantage of here this week. There are links down below in the description. This right here is going to get you rehydrated and replenished and on your way to recovery, so you're not going into work crazy hungover on Monday. All it takes is this little packet and like 16 to 32 ounces of water, and you are on your way to recovery. But I want to make sure you have a discount on it, right? Because everything is better when it's cheaper. So head over to waterboy.com, check out the different flavors that they have, find something you like, and then use referral code headliners at checkout for 15% off your order. Don't let the stresses of week 7 fantasy football get you off on the wrong foot for week 8. So we're going to make sure that we are very much rehydrated and recovered heading in to next week. But now let's talk about a little bit of weather. And luckily, weather isn't something that we really have to worry about this weekend. We have 2 games as of right now on the slate with a slight chance of rain. Nothing huge, no big storms. First one, Arizona at Seattle. Never been to Seattle, but from what I hear, it's always raining there anyway. There is a chance of rain for that ball game. And then also the Buffalo Bills at New England Patriots. There's a small chance of rain in that matchup as well. Like you know, though, the weather can change in a moment's notice. Be sure to follow those games up until kickoff to make sure you're not starting anybody that's going to be playing in some torrential downpour. But as of right now, everything looks pretty good. But that's going to go ahead and wrap up the end of the week news and the weather update here for week 7. That's everything we have up until this moment. So now it's time to kick back, relax, just talk football with the boys, and send it over to Mack and the Medic.
Yo, what's up, Headliner Nation? It's Mac. I'm the Medic. This is Mac and the Medic. Let's get into it, Mac. We got no time to waste today. We talked last week, Mac, about guys that we thought might get traded in the actual NFL. But we know that everybody really is coming to this show to talk about their fantasy teams. And so this week, I'm going to stick with the trading theme. But I want to talk about guys that you are trading for and trading away on your fantasy teams. So not actual trades in the NFL, guys that we are trading for in fantasy right now. Mac, who do you got?
Okay, so the guy that I'm trading for, and he's hurt right now, but I think you could probably swing a deal to get him, is Devon Achane. Okay. So they put him on IR, and all signs indicating point that he should be back week 11, right?
Yep.
So that's still plenty of time, for him to get acclimated back into the system and help your fantasy team out. We saw what he was doing prior to him leaving. So within that offense, man, that's fantasy gold. So a lot of players, or a lot of teams that's probably got him right now, they might be in a situation where they can't wait, right? Especially if they don't have an RR spot. So I would go out and try to get him and just, have him on your bench. And then when he's ready to go, man, you got something on your hands.
Yeah, really looking towards those teams that maybe need to make a move right now to even stay competitive. See if he's on those squads, attack that type of player first. I'm not usually a huge fan of trading for injured players, currently injured players, but I think if you want him on your team, you have to trade for him now because he's only going to increase in value the closer we get to him coming back, which I believe is going to be in week 10 or 11. And so I like that. For me, I went with the wide receiver position, Mac, and let me lay out the case for this guy, Christian Watson, wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers. Now, he missed 3 games to start the year. Then he had his bye in week 6. So we're already at 6 weeks in, and you've only gotten to see him play for your fantasy team 2 times. Owners typically get tired of that type of guy. They can't trust him. He was hurt, and now all of a sudden he's back, but he's got a bye week. So we've only gotten 2 weeks of production. So they don't have that like attraction to him where he is a must starter. Most likely they haven't been starting him that much because he really wasn't that great in his first week back in week 4. But snap percentages doubled week 4 to week 5. We want to see that with a guy coming off of an injury. And in week 5, he was 3rd amongst all wide receiver in air yards. So they're throwing the ball to him down the field. In fact, Jordan Love, despite not being a great quarterback in the first 6 weeks, is 9th in air yards this season among quarterbacks. He is throwing the ball downfield. He's just not connecting with his receivers as often as we would like. But first-year starter. I mean, this is something that over the year he could potentially get better as the year goes on, especially now that he's got his best deep threat in Christian Watson coming back. Watson's average depth of target is 19 yards downfield. So these guys actually play in a way that coexists well with each other. Jordan Love wants to throw the ball down the field. Christian Watson wants to catch the ball deep down the field. Their play styles match a ton. The other thing that I love, and when I'm trading for players mid-season like this, the thing I'm always looking at is, what does their playoff schedule look like? Because don't forget, we got bye weeks in weeks 13 and 14. So you don't want to be trading for a guy that might miss that push to the playoffs for you. So playoff schedule for Christian Watson, absolute fire. Listen to this. It only plays one defense from week 11 on that's in the top 12 in the league against the pass, and that's Kansas City in week 13. Week 11, he's got the Chargers, Detroit. So not great matchups, but the Chargers have been the worst team in the league at defending the pass so far through 6 weeks. And then get this, last 4 weeks, Giants, Bucks, Panthers, Vikings.
Wow.
4 teams that could be tanking by that point in the season, may not even be starting their best players. So go get you some Christian Watson if you're going to be trading for a guy. And I like yours as well, Devon Achane, 2 guys that we would be targeting if we're trading for guys today. All right, Max. So we talked about a guy that we want to trade for, but who is a guy that you are not trading for, that you're trying to trade away? You don't want him on your team anymore.
Okay. All right. So this guy, listen, it might be a little controversial, just a tad bit.
No, Mac.
Yeah.
You've gotten us in trouble already. Last week was tough, man. You can't be, if you're about to say something ludicrous,
right,
don't get us in trouble again, Mac. I can't handle it.
I will definitely explain what I mean by this.
Please
so
do.
the guy I'm talking about is Jonathan Taylor. Okay.
And the only reason, thin ice, Mac.
Right. But the only reason I'm even considering it, or would ask the people to maybe consider it, is because of the value that you could probably get back from a trade like that, especially right now, because it's still kind of an unknown. We know what Jonathan Taylor is, but we really don't know how he's going to be used within his offense because Zach Moss is playing so well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't make a lot of sense for them to just give him the full workload, and I don't think they will as of yet. So the best we could hope for is like a 70-30 split. I think it's more like a 60-40, to be honest.
Yeah.
Not saying that that's not still, he's capable of getting RB1 numbers, but why not trade him away and get 2 for the price of 1? That's
so you're
my
diversifying a little bit in terms of kind of taking that big risk, maybe 2 less risky guys instead. I can maybe see that. Now, how would you defend the argument that Zach Moss doing well is actually good for Jonathan Taylor, because it means that the scheme is working. Mm-hmm. The new offensive scheme is working for the running back, right? And Jonathan Taylor is eventually going to take over that role.
I mean, that's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts, cans and nuts. You feel me?
I got you.
Me personally now I get what you're saying, but me personally being a Jonathan Taylor owner on one of my teams, I've had to endure almost 3 weeks of basically nothing, on the wish and hopes that he's gonna, which I think he will eventually take over. But again, Moss has done so well.
Yeah.
That he's not gonna fade away. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It might be too late to really bottle that up, to really take over. And they might argue that Jonathan Taylor's been banged up last year, banged up in the preseason. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's better if he's splitting time with Zach Moss. So I can see there. For me, Mac, I'm sticking with the running back position. I'm going James Cook. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I get it. He's currently the RB18 in PPR leagues. People are loving the volume that he's getting. Mm-hmm. But the problem I have with James Cook is he's splitting work in the red zone with 3 dudes. Latavius Murray, Josh Allen, and Damian Harris all splitting almost identical rushing work in the red zone right now, Mac. And so they just don't trust him to be the running back on the goal line. They don't trust him to even be the running back in the red zone. He has 0 targets in the red zone this year, and the team's only thrown to running backs twice in the red zone this year. So Josh Allen is just not trusting his running backs when they get into scoring opportunities. And that limits the upside that you get with James Cook. He has to have incredible rushing production between the 20s, because when they get down to the red zone, Josh Allen just isn't looking at the running back position. The other thing is that his schedule sucks to end the year. Okay. They play Philly in week 12. They're giving up the second fewest rushing yards per game in the NFL right now. Week 13, he's not even playing. He has a bye week in week 13. And then he doesn't play a bottom 16 rushing defense throughout the fantasy playoffs. So at no point is he getting a positive matchup for you from week 12 on. So if you're trying to get into the playoffs, you're going to be starting a guy in week 12 that doesn't have a good matchup and then can't even start him in week 13. That is a major red flag for me. The other thing is, if you're not going to get good matchups and you're not going to be used in the red zone, and the team is, let's say the rumors were not true that Leonard Fournette was, sniffing around the Bills, they were sniffing around him. But the fact that there's even rumors tells me that they're looking for maybe some other alternatives at the running back position. They, for some reason, don't trust James Cook to be that guy this year. The schedule's terrible. And for me, I'm just not risking my fantasy hopes on an RB2 that isn't trusted in the red zone and could potentially get even more competition added as the year goes on, Mac. That's me personally. You got to start looking at these schedules, especially if you're a team that has to make a push into the playoffs. You got to be looking at these schedules, because there's 6 teams, I believe, that are on bye in week 13 and 2 in week 14. So you got none in week 12, but if you got some players on that week 13 and you're looking at maybe having to fight to get into the playoffs, you better be paying attention to it now while you still have time to make moves to get yourself in a position where you have a full lineup full of studs to start, Mac. But hey, I appreciate you, man. I know that you enjoy these shows. I enjoy talking to you each and every week. It's good catching up with my buddy Mac. Appreciate everybody listening to this show. And I know Mac's got some Friday Flyers for us, so let's take it over there.
Yo, what it do? It's your boy Big Mac, and I'm back again with the Week 7 edition of the Friday Flyers. Listen, I got a few guys here that you can stash away, put on your bench if you have availability, in the event that something might pop off and you might be able to use one of them. So listen, without further ado, let's get to it. All right, the first guy up I want to talk about is Leonard Fournette. Okay, we've heard about his name, buzzing around on the internet and Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, for several weeks now. And he's been linked to multiple teams. Well, a lot of times where there's smoke, there's fire. Leonard Fournette is kind of doing what Kareem Hunt did a few months ago. He stayed out there until a situation came available that suited him. And, money talks, of course. But anyway, long story short, Leonard Fournette has been talked about here a lot recently. And I think he can help one of these RB needy teams. We've seen the RB landscape and how up and down it's been the past several months. People getting injured, whether it's 1 or 2 games, So you got a lot of teams out there who may need a veteran presence to be able to step right in and handle those carries. So Leonard Fournette, again, is a guy out there. He hadn't been attached to any teams thus far, but it's somebody you want to keep on your radar and perhaps pick him up early enough if you have availability and just stash him away. So when he does sign with someone, you don't have to fight the waiver wire. You can go ahead. You already have him on your bench. All right, next up, I want to talk about Royce Freeman. So right now, he's expected to serve as the RB2 behind Zach Evans. Now, but we know how things change, and Sean McVay is one of those guys that he can change at the drop of a dime. And they also brought in Darrell Henderson. We all have heard that since the time of this recording. But Royce has the inside track to lay claim on a major piece of his rotation, especially if he shows more effectiveness in the red zone. So that's one thing that they have Now, Kyron Williams has done a great job, but they haven't had a prototypical north-south bell cow type of running back probably since Todd Gurley. I'm not saying that Royce Freeman is anything like Todd Gurley, but his running style is similar as far as hitting the gaps and just being a power type back, and they'll need that within the red zone. I'm not sure if Zach Evans is able to do that. That remains to be seen. But again, by them bringing up Royce Freeman and making him active, he's RB2 right now. So he has the opportunity to go ahead and show whether or not if he can warrant more time within this rotation. And if he does, you don't want to fight the waiver wires next week to try to get this guy. So go ahead and get him now and just stash him away. Next up, I want to talk about Jalen Hyatt, wide receiver from the New York Giants. Listen, with Daniel Jones still dealing with the symptoms from his injury, it doesn't bode well for his availability at the time of this recording. So, which means another possible start for from Tyrod Taylor. Well, one of Tyrod's main targets on the previous game was Jalen Hyatt. He caught 3 or 4 targets for 21 yards, but the big takeaway was Hyatt played on 73% of the offensive snaps. With his top end speed, he could emerge as the team's much needed deep threat. That's something that we all thought that he would be used in that same role early in the off season. Going into the season, but it never came to fruition. Here and there you would see little flash plays with Jones hooking up with Hyatt. But I think Tyrod can help stretch the field a little bit better than Daniel with Jalen Hyatt. So Jalen Hyatt is a guy that you want to keep your eyes on. And like I said, maybe pick him up now and go ahead and stash him away, because we all seen, a lot of teams like Miami, a lot of these teams that have top end speedsters, right? That can stretch the field, warrant the defense to have 2 high safeties and stuff like that. So Jalen Hyatt is one of those speedsters, like I said, that has the capability of being able to do those things. And again, like I said, a big play guy like that you want to have on your team. So go ahead and get him, stash him away. All right, and last but not least, I want to talk about a little fella. And I mean that literally. And that's Kyler Murray from the Arizona Cardinals. So Arizona has designated Murray to return back from IR. And I know they'll probably work him in slowly. It's been a long time since he's played, and coming back from that injury, they want to take their time with him. But they also want to see what they have left, or what he has left to offer, prior to going into next season. Because like I said, they may eventually they've got some high draft picks, so they might look for another quarterback or something. So, and this also could be kind of a audition for Kyler in essence. So if they do decide to trade him, he needs to be out and perform and play. So again, I think he is one of those guys that you could probably pick up, especially if you're a team who's still in the hunt right now. And you might have some weak quarterback play, but the rest of your team is kind of supporting you right now. Go ahead and get Kyler Murray, stash him away. Again, like I said, I wouldn't advise this if you don't have the bench availability, but if you do, stash him away. And like I said, by the time the playoff push starts, you got a QB1 right there in the wings, just ready to go. All right, guys, that's it for week 7. I'll be back again for week 8. Listen, check out some of these players I'm talking about. Again, like I said, if you have availability on your bench, go ahead and pick them up and stash them away. These are not people that I'm saying that you want to start over known starters, but they're potential players that you can grab and hold them, and you won't have to fight the waiver wires. But until then, I want y'all to be safe, be blessed, and be champions. Peace.
All right, and that's going to do it here for the Week 7 Tailgate Show. Be sure to go get your Water Boy, right? Make sure you are ready to go. Waterboy.com. Use the referral code Headliners for 15% off your order there. I want to make sure everybody's tip-top shape. Don't let week 7 ruin your fantasy season, because we still have a lot of fun to have here in 2023, but I'm going to go ahead and get out of here for the day. Hopefully you have a great rest of your day, a great weekend. Everybody, good luck in all of your fantasy football matchups, and then do your part to make the world a better place.
I'm a headliner.